Today is Back Roads of Illinois on Today. We were Central Illinois agriculture source and in the Midwest alongside in Central Illinois. We're glad you're here on a Wednesday. There is special guest on today's program with Kevin Kalb from Living to Farm and Corn Warrior on RDF TV and Discover Channel. Otherwise, we were joining with Matthew Kruse from Comstock in West Des Moines, Iowa. This time is serious business on Back Roads of Illinois with your agricultural news and markets update. Oscar Day in Grand Island in Nebraska, planting season in South America. We were almost here for the harvest season. Last week was the farm progress show in Boone, Iowa for this year, but now it's the Oscars Days in Grand Island, Nebraska. The show is for non-irritating show in Northern Plains and Upper Midwest. This time is for the planting perspective in South America. We are watching the weather in Brazil. We could see our friends in Brazil and Argentina. Last year has an issue with the grasshoppers and the corn crop in Argentina, especially in Brazil. They had an issue with their beans. It was poor quality of the beans. We were gearing up for this harvest season for this year, checking for your equipment and supplies for this year. The combine is a pretty important thing to check in with the machines that is in the farm. We were coming back with our guest Matthew Kruse from Comstock. Stay tuned on Back Roads of Illinois. This is Matt Kruse from Comstock in West Des Moines, Iowa. We were talking about the commodities markets on this afternoon. Hi, Matt. How's it going?
I'm good. We're doing well here in Iowa. So we're starting to cool off here and see some fields outside of Des Moines are starting to turn already, but we're still mostly pretty green. How are you doing? Yeah, so we've turned fairly dry here in Iowa. I think a large part of the Corn Belt, especially the Western Corn Belt. We only got in my farm in Northwest Iowa. We got a couple of inches in August, which I think were good timely rains, but quite a bit less than maybe what was ideal. But looking out of the forecast here in September, things are pretty dry. We don't see much of anything really in the next 7 days. I think we're still situated pretty good though, as temperatures are a little bit more modest. We're moving away from that heat. We see several days in the 70s here later this week. We might move back into the 80s, low 80s, next week, but I think we're starting to already see a slight shift into the kind of the fall temperatures like we're used to. But so I think in the case of corn, I don't think it's going to affect the markets too much, as the market is kind of looking at that as thinking it's we're pretty much stabilized, and the corn is further enough along that it has what it needs to kind of fill the crop out. It's probably going to impact the soybeans a little bit more, as most of the soybeans were planted a little bit later and are still probably needing some good weather. I know especially in parts of Northwest Iowa and Southwest Minnesota and maybe parts of South Dakota that there's some soybeans that were planted a lot of late, and so they're going to be extremely susceptible to some early frost, things like that. Here right now we're up 4.25 cents in November beans right now, but but they'll surprise you, so it's nothing anymore to have a 10 or 15 cent swing in one day on the beans. Um, and so I think the next big report is the USDA report on, I think it's September 12th, I want to say. And we'll kind of get another look at what the USDA sees for crop yields in the United States. I think they'll actually have some field data at that point, because up until now it's been just kind of farmer surveys, and now they're gonna have some actually field data going in and looking at the crops, and that's always a little different, right? Because the crops can look good from the road, but once they get out in it and actually do studies, that they can see there can be a difference.
Matt, is there anything would you like to go to tell our listeners about cattle markets for right now after Labor Day weekend?
Oh, I guess if you can afford it, keep eating beef, right? The cattle market's been still, its long-term trend is still up. Depending on how far back you want to go, it's obviously here in the last couple months, it's fallen off of its highs. It's still hanging in there. Hopefully we can kind of keep moving. This is just a short-term correction, but I wouldn't count it out yet. I still think that there's pretty healthy demand for beef, that but I think you're running into some potential demand destruction at the same time. And so I think a lot of it probably has to boil down to maybe the what the packer margins are doing right now, and if they're making money, then they're willing to bid up and pay the higher cash prices for the cattle. And so I think that's one thing that we're looking at, is the packer margins, and making, if they're making money, then it usually uh, increases the chances, I should say, not necessity, but the chances that the farmer will make money too.
Do you have any final thoughts about these crop private tour?
About the crop tour with Pro Farmer.
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess it kind of confirmed what we felt, that there's a good crop coming. It's just how good, right? And I think overall the United States is going to produce a good crop, but it can still vary within 1, 2, 3 bushels per acre overall, and that's going to have a tremendous um, difference on our ending stocks and what prices do. And so I don't think anybody says there's a bad crop overall. I think trend line yield is up. It's just I don't know that I agree with these really rosy yield estimates that they have. 183 on the corn, and 53 or 52 and a half on the beans. And so um, I guess that's where we're at, that we think that there's possibility that they could trim those yields, maybe especially more on the beans, just because with the heat here that we've gotten recently, that the top end of those yields have probably gotten trimmed a little bit. Um, but even if they do that, I mean, even if they said, okay, we're gonna take 2 bushels per acre off, you're still looking at, on the corn, you're still looking at 180. Well, that's still a record yield, and so and that would make a big difference to our ending stocks. That could get us back to 450 or higher, maybe on the December corn. And so um, I think our demand on the corn has been very good as well, especially with the ethanol, and our exports have been strong. In the case of the soybeans, probably less so. That's our biggest problem, is we're just losing too much of our export market to South America. And so um, I think we might look to get a correction here. in the grains. But we'll see where that takes us. You know, a longer term, and 6 months or more, 9 months out, I'm still a little bit more negative the beans than I am the corn. I think corn has some more potential upside.
Where people can find you for their risk management consulting services.
They can go to our website at commstock.com, commstock.com, and we have a report called the Comstock Report that they can subscribe to that, and we give twice a day updates with video and written content from our brokers and analysts.
Thanks, Matt.
All righty. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
This is Matthew Kruse from Comstock on Back Roads of Illinois. How is your growing season?
So our growing season's been kind of a roller coaster. We don't try to plant our corn crop very quick, very early, but soybeans went in pretty good. First part, middle of April, planted our beans. They come up, look pretty good. And then our corn really started planting around the 20th of May. Went in pretty good. Some of our hills were a little wet. We had some issues of getting it dry enough, and finally got it planted. June rolled by, really, really dry, not much rain. I think we had basically the whole month of June, we had 0.7 of an inch of rain. And then we got into July. The end of June, first part of July, we started catching some rains, and we were setting up, all the way to the end of July. We were thinking, wow, this is amazing July that we had. Corn was tasseling. We're sitting with about 6 inches, 7 inches of rain through July. Was really feeling good. Then
what is the yield
like
for
July
right now alongside with the harvest season? I'm sorry. It was an accident.
Oh. So to finish up, from basically the end of July, all through August, and right now, today's September 4th, we're right here at our home place. We're sitting on about 0.2 of an inch in the last 40 days. So, some of our weaker ground is starting to really show some pretty significant stress. Our river bottoms and our creek bottoms still look pretty good. So we're really banking on a rain come Friday.
We're praying for a rain, Cesar.
What is the yields for right now alongside with the harvest season?
So I'm not saying that we're still on our some of our best stuff. Could still be pushing. We're guessing. The mid 350s to pushing 400 bushel on some of our better ground. Some of our hill ground that's like I said, taking the drought pretty hard. If we don't catch a rain here, we're looking at 125 to 150 bushel of corn on our hills. Soybeans are just about done. I think the soybeans could still really be a pretty decent crop You know, estimating yield on soybeans are pretty hard to do, but I think they're going to be above average crop on the soybeans. We had our soybeans, most of our beans on some better dirt that holds moisture really well. So the beans should be pretty good.
Kevin and Shawn, could you explain to our listeners about your experience in the NCG yield contest?
Yeah, so the NCGA has been actually a blessing for our farm. We started in the contest in 2007, and you know, blessed by the good Lord, I guess. That first year we finished second in the nation, and you know, kind of got us hooked, I guess, to the competition. You know, we're too old to compete anymore in sports, so this is about the easiest thing for, or I should say, about the only thing
Nothing easy.
we can really compete at anymore. But it has helped our farm, um, helped us learn how to manage high yield, how to gain high yield, not just in our contest acres for the NCGA, but spread some of these practices that we know help us gain bushels for the contest. There's a few things that we can do that we pull from there that we apply across all of our acres to help gain us some yield. So yeah, it's nice to be in the contest, but the biggest thing is how we learned so much about growing corn that we've took from not just our contest acres and applied it to all of our acres on the farm, and it's really helped us out a lot.
That's what I like about the NCGA is you get to talk to other farmers and get ideas from them. But basically, for me, it's a vacation for Kevin and I to get away.
Exactly. We just kind of feel like on our farm and our philosophy is I would really hate to miss out on the last 30 or 40, you know, bushel, knowing that I'm able to prevent that by applying another shot of fungicide. So sometimes the old motto is true. It takes money to make money, and that's kind of what we're banking on. That you know, we're going to spend some more money trying to keep this crop alive and keep the disease down, just so when we go into harvest, knowing that, you know, we did about everything we can to at least protect the crop, at least from a disease. You know, the drought we can't really control, but the diseases we can. So I think farmers need to really start thinking about stuff like that. You're trying to save and protect the bushels that you've grown. And that's something, you know, it's pretty tough to do with the markets going down, but I think that would be a good thing to do. Go ahead and spend the money if you're dealing with some diseases there. You know, go ahead and keep it healthy as long as you can.
Yes, I agree with you, Shawn. Thanks, you guys. It's been my pleasure to meet you guys.
You too, Cesar.
Thank you, Cesar. Appreciate it.
This is Kevin and Shawn Kalb from Southern Indiana on back roads of Illinois.
Take care.
This is your agricultural commodity markets update on back roads of Illinois. Corn futures finished in up 8 to 9 cents. Soybean futures finished in up Thanks to Matthew Kruse from Comstock, and thanks to Kevin Kalb from Southern Indiana. We're running out of time on our show, but you can listen to our show on YouTube. And whenever you get your podcast, that's been Back Roads of Illinois. I am Cesar Delgado. Have a great day.